locate that box of apple chips up here for me? Vinyl and I were finishing up the last of our stocking at Barnyard Bargains and were about to close up for the night. It was hard to believe that it had been 1 year since Vinyl had started working here. Since that day, we'd become fast friends. I'd even moved in with her and Octavia to save some bits. Since all of us were creative types, they with their music and I with my writing, it worked well.
Sure, here you go.
I heard the shimmer of her magic and saw the box hovering beside me. Using my own magic, I quickly placed the apple chips on the shelf. I was up on a ladder, as Mr. Rich didn't approve of us levitating ourselves up to the top shelves. As I finished placing them, we began excitedly talking about our Hearthswarming Eve get-together that we were planning. Is Neon still planning to help you with the music?
I think so. He'll be wrapping up his tour next week, so he'll have a clear schedule for Hearthswarming.
Great. I'd hate for you to do all the work yourself.
Quill, parting is my job, remember? I could handle it if I had to.
Oh, I know, but I've seen how you work. I made air quotes with my hooves. You just go and go until you fall on your face. We both burst out laughing at that. Okay, let's get this place cleaned up so we can get home. As I spoke, I started to climb down the ladder. As I stepped back, my back right hoof went through 2 of the rungs. In my haste to pull it free, I felt the entire thing lean to the right and then fall, trapping me under it.
Oh, shit!
Vinyl quickly climbed down from her own ladder and levitated mine off of me.
You okay, Quill?
I shook my head to clear it, assessing myself before answering. Sure, I was bruised, but that seemed to be it. Yeah, I think I'm good. That was, however, until I stood up. The second I put weight on my back right leg, a sharp pain shot all the way up to my flank, and I hit the floor, gritting my teeth and flattening my ears. My leg, it really hurts. I think I did something to it when I fell. I couldn't help it now. Tears came unbidden to my eyes.
Grizzles, come on. We'll get you to the hospital.
But what about the store? I couldn't help but look around the store and see how much cleaning up was left. I hated leaving the job unfinished.
Don't worry about it. We'll get you to the hospital first. I'll close up and write Mr. Rich a note so he knows what happened, and I'll have Octi come get you. Now come on! The hospital isn't far!
Lifting me onto her back, Vinyl galloped to Ponyville General. It was late enough at night that not many ponies were out and about. When we entered the lobby, we could see Nurse Coldheart behind the front desk, writing something down on a piece of parchment. She glanced up when she heard the door open, and her eyes widened in surprise.
What happened?
Her tone was kind, but all business when she saw that I hadn't entered under my own power.
We were stocking some cases of stuff at work, and the whole ladder fell over with her on it.
Nurse Coldheart nodded in understanding and turned to me.
What's your name, sweetie?
Quillfeather? Fuck, did my legs still hurt?
All right, Quillfeather. Let's get you into an exam room so you can tell me everything that happened, okay? Does your head hurt at all?
I considered the question for a moment, assessing myself once again. My head was probably the one thing that didn't hurt. No, just my leg. Nodding again, she led us to an exam room and helped me sit on a chair. Vinyl lingered in the doorway, which made me nervous. I knew she had to go back and finish closing the store, but the thought that I would be alone in this hospital for any length of time had me worried. Vinyl saw my frightened look and grinned at me reassuringly.
I'm just gonna go close up. I'll go wake up Octi first, and when I'm done, I'll come right back, okay?
I smiled back at her. When we first met, Octavia had decided she liked me from the start. Something about me being a good influence on her. The two of them had become like sisters to me more than friends, and I found myself tearing up again, but this time not from the pain. Thanks, Vinyl. That means a lot.
I know. I'll try to be quick.
With that, Vinyl left, and I was alone with Nurse Coldheart.
Okay, honey. Let's start at the beginning. How did this happen?
Sniffing back my tears, I began to explain. All the while, Nurse Coldheart nodded and took notes. All the while, my thoughts spiraled, my anxiety increasing. Was the injury serious? What if I couldn't go back to work? The Hearthswarming rush would be upon us soon. Mr. Rich would be short-hoofed without me. What if... It was then that I noticed the look on Nurse Coldheart's face. Apparently, I'd been talking out loud. Sorry, I guess this is stressing me out. A lot. Nurse Coldheart nodded in understanding.
No surprise there. Getting hurt can be scary for any pony.
I shook my head, my ears flattening. It's not so much that, just that it's nearly Hearthswarming. I can't afford to miss out on work. I need the bits.
Well, if you've got insurance, that'll keep you covered.
I brightened at this. Mr. Rich, though thought to be a greedy business pony, was actually a very generous stallion. This included a holiday bonus and proper health insurance. It was one of the reasons I'd worked for him for so long. There was just one problem. I do. My card is in my saddlebag. As I spoke, there was a knock on the exam room door. When it opened, I felt the tears return. Octavia had come, and she was holding my saddlebag in her teeth.
Vinyl said you'd probably need this.
Thanks, Octavia. I've had a hell of a night. Octavia smiled in understanding, trotting over to embrace me.
I know. I'm sure they have tests to run on you. Once those are done, we'll get you home, and I'll make you some soup. Vinyl should be done shortly.
As it turned out, an X-ray was first. My leg was broken, and I would be in a cast until after Hearthswarming. The second was a CAT scan. Apparently, they didn't believe me when I said my head didn't hurt. Once they realized I didn't have a concussion, they sent me home. As we were leaving, Vinyl galloped up to us, looking very weary.
So, what's up with your leg?
Broken. I'll be out until after Hearthswarming.
Damn! That's nearly... 6 weeks.
Vinyl lifted her glasses from her face and rubbed her eyes with a hoof as we began the trot home, Octavia pushing me in my wheelchair. I hated this. Being an invalid was not fun. Did you write the note to Mr. Rich? A ball of guilt was growing in the pit of my stomach. I had always been proud of the fact that my attendance at work was perfect. I felt bad that my team would be working through Hearthswarming without my help.
Yeah, I did. You'll find it in the morning.
By this time, we were finally at our front door. As Vinyl placed the key in the lock, she lifted her glasses again and gave me a very serious look.
Don't stress about it, okay? What's important right now is you getting better.
And we'll be here to help you. Make no mistake.
Octavia wheeled me into the living room, and Vinyl shoved all the empty pizza boxes off the couch and levitated me onto it. I quickly grabbed the book from the table that I'd left there that morning so I could read it. Thanks, Phillies. I'll probably sleep down here. I can't exactly make it up the stairs like this. They smiled and nodded, Vinyl saying goodnight and going upstairs, while Octavia made the soup she had promised. After giving me a bowl of it, she too went upstairs to sleep. After reading a few more chapters, I yawned and pulled the blanket over myself and fell into a restless sleep. The first week after my accident was very relaxing. I'd been so tired after my shifts that I'd never had much time to work on my writing. I was quick to ask Vinyl to bring my parchment and quills downstairs so I could get to work. But as the second week was drawing to a close, I was starting to get a little stir-crazy. Not to mention I was anxiously awaiting a visit from Mr. Rich about my workhorse comp payments. I was supposed to have the bits by now. Just then, a sharp knock pulled me away from my racing thoughts. "It's open!" The door opened, and Mr. Rich poked his head in.
"Hello, Quill Feather. How are you feeling, dear?"
Other than the stress of not having as many bits as I normally do, I'm all right, sir.
"Oh, I understand. These dang workhorse comp claims take so long, they're hardly a benefit to any pony. But I did finally get some good news."
I sat up on the couch, suddenly more alert. "Oh, what is it? Will I be getting my payments soon?" Mr. Rich frowned, and his ears flattened against his head.
Yes, you will. But it's not going to be as much as you were hoping for."
He picked up a scroll with his teeth and allowed it to unroll so I could read it. I had been hoping for about 1,000 bits a week, but this number was far lower than it should have been. Only 500 bits a week? What the hey happened? I snatched the scroll in my magic and read it. Not enough medical information? But we gave them everything! My x-rays, my prescription documents, all of it! With a groan, I put my face in my hooves. Why? Why me? Mr. Rich patted my shoulder, looking at me like a concerned father might look at a crying foal.
I know. I had a feeling they'd reduce the amount, but...
Here he paused, and I looked up at him. In his mouth was an envelope with my name on it.
I thought you might want this. It should help.
Setting the scroll aside, I took the envelope from him and opened it slowly. Inside was a paper check. When I saw the number written on it, I gasped, putting a hoof to my mouth. 30,000 bits? Mr. Rich, thank you, but I can't accept this. It's too much. My normal holiday bonus is more than enough. Mr. Rich smiled, shaking his head.
With all the years of loyalty you've shown to me, it's the least that I can do. And it is almost Hearthswarming after all.
Tears sprang to my eyes at his generosity. This was why I still worked at Barnyard Bargains. Filthy Rich was the greatest boss I'd ever had. This right here proved that he cared very much about his employees. Thank you, Mr. Rich. This will help so much. I don't even know what to say. He grinned at me, chuckling.
Promise me you'll stop worrying about the store until you're better. It may be rough this year, but we'll make it.
I couldn't help but laugh and reply. Deal. And so it went on. 2 weeks after Mr. Rich's visit, I was still in a good place financially. What was getting to me now was sheer boredom. I had read every one of my books already, and didn't have the heart to ask my roommates to stop at the library for me. As for my writing, I had finished every single rough draft possible. Having run out of ideas for now, I was editing and typing final drafts. As I began to mark up the first one, I felt my eyelids droop. Jerking awake, I levitated my energy drink over and chugged it. So bored. I don't think I'll make it another 2 weeks. A knock interrupted my whining. I rubbed my eyes. It's open.
Well, that's an odd hello.
The voice that spoke was pleasant and very familiar. I gasped, turning my head to see who it was. A unicorn mare with a light blue mane and pure white coat was standing in the entryway. A pair of pink glasses sat on the end of her nose, and her cutie mark was of a snow cone with a snowflake behind it. I recognized her immediately and squealed in delight, almost forgetting that my leg was broken as I tried to leap over to her. Bliz! Oh, my Celestia, what are you doing here? Blizzard Frost was my very best friend from Canterlot. We'd been students at Celestia School for Gifted Unicorns together. I only got to see her once a year now around this time of year, but she almost never came to Ponyville.
Octavia wrote to me and told me what happened to you. How are you feeling?
Better, actually. The prescription painkillers help a lot. I'll be starting physical therapy after Hearthswarming. Pausing, I tapped my chin with a hoof and looked at her, still perplexed. It's nice that you were worried about me, but why did you come all this way? Shouldn't you be getting ready for Hearthswarming with your folks? Bliz grinned at me, her face aglow with excitement.
Not this year. I figured if you couldn't come to Cantlot, I'd come to Ponyville instead.
I felt my heart warm at her words. I'm so happy to see you. Sorry for being so much trouble. Bliz glared at me, bopping me on the nose. Ow! What was that for?
For apologizing for being hurt, you silly filly. It's not your fault, Quill. And while I'm here, I'm going to help you feel better. I'll cook for you and spend time with you so you're not bored or lonely. It'll be just like the old times.
For the rest of the day, Bliz and I talked and caught up. When it was time for lunch, she made us sandwiches. I was enjoying myself so much that I lost track of the time. Before I knew it, Octavia and Vinyl had come home. When I saw how exhausted Vinyl looked, the ball of guilt from before threatened to overwhelm me again. I should have been there to help. Vinyl noticed me looking and gave me a tired smile.
Don't give me that look, Quill. I'll be fine. Just need a quick nap before my show tonight.
Looking back, I'm not entirely sure what finally sent me over the edge that day. All I know is that I suddenly felt as if the walls were closing in around me. I plastered a smile on my face so no one would see, but my thoughts were spinning wildly out of control. For weeks, all I had done was sit on this couch. I hadn't contributed to anything at all. I was living off of government bits, and my friends were making so many sacrifices on my behalf. I didn't deserve it. Any of it. It took me a moment to realize that every pony was looking at me, and Vinyl had asked me a question.
Quill, I asked if you were okay.
With that, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I threw my head into my hooves and sobbed. I had no idea how long I'd been holding all of this in, but in that moment it all came flooding out of me. Then I felt 3 sets of front hooves holding me, and 3 voices trying to calm me down and tell me it was okay. Once I subsided, I wiped at my eyes with a hoof.
Oh, whatever is the matter, Quillfeather? Why are you so upset?
I just feel so guilty. All I've done is sit around. I hate not being able to pull my weight around the house or at work. For weeks I felt so useless, and Vinyl... I trailed off, looking at Vinyl. To my shock, she laughed.
What? You're upset because I look tired? Quill, this is normal for me, and you know it. Don't beat yourself up about it.
Vinyl removed her glasses, and I could see her looking kindly at me with her bright red eyes.
Remember last year, Quill, when you stopped Filthy Rich from firing me?
Sniffing, I nodded.
I didn't say anything about this at the time, but I wasn't just short on bits for Octi's gift.
Pausing for a moment, she smiled at me.
I was able to stop us from getting evicted because of what you did for me. Consider this me returning the favor.
But what about your show? You can barely stand up. Putting her shades back on, she grinned broadly and gestured to the other side of the room.
Oh, I won't be going far. See, this one is a private show.
It was then that I looked around the living room. How had I not noticed? Everywhere around the house were Hearthswarming decorations. Blizz, Vinyl, and Octavia had decorated the whole house. The tree was in the corner, the fire of friendship flickering on the top, with brightly wrapped gifts underneath. Lights adorned every surface, and Vinyl's turntables were set up on the far side of the room. I had gotten so wrapped up in my own head that I hadn't realized our Hearthswarming Eve party was tonight. Vinyl levitated my old Hearthswarming doll over to me, and I took it in my magic. Every pony else was holding theirs.
We wanted to do this part together.
Glancing around at my friends, I realized how foolish I had been. What had I been thinking? My friends all loved me enough to help me, just as I would for them. Using my magic, I pulled them all to me in a group hug. Thank you, every pony. I guess I'd need to remember that helping each other is what friends do, and that I shouldn't feel bad about it. As we placed our Hearthswarming dolls over the fireplace, a loud thumping could be heard outside. It sounded like it was coming from an enormous speaker. Vinyl grinned.
Oh yeah! Right on time!
A second later, the door slammed open, and Neon Lights, his black mane spiked and his sunglasses shining in the light, came into the room.
Happy Hearthswarming, you beautiful mares!
At that, everyone started laughing, and the party was in full swing. Drinks were passed around, snacks enjoyed, and good cheer all around. Once Vinyl took over the turntables, Neon came to sit beside me on the couch. A blush rose to his cheeks as he sat down.
Hey, Quill. A long time no see.
Oh, hey, Neon. Glad you could make it. He scratched the back of his neck nervously and then spoke again.
So, I was wondering if you'd like to hang out sometime? Once your leg is better, I mean.
Sure. I'd like that. I have to say, at that moment, it didn't matter that I'd be out of work for 2 more weeks. My cast would be off after Hearthswarming, and I would get better. I had my friends, and that was all that mattered. The love and light of their company was much more important than all of that. Happy Hearthswarming, every pony!
Happy Hearthswarming!
Happy Hearthswarming!
Happy Hearthswarming!
And a Happy New Year!